As Christians round up their fast, they are reminded of the reason for the season as they celebrate Good Friday. Good Friday is a Christian holiday commemorating the crucifixion of Jesus and his death at Calvary. It is observed during Holy Week as part of the Paschal Triduum. It is also known as Holy Friday, Great and Holy Friday, and Black Friday. Good Friday is known to usher in Easter, which is the commemoration of the resurrection of Jesus. Earlier, we were joined on the news by Reverend Kingsley Igbade, Assistant Pastor at Church for Real, Church of God Mission. Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has facilitated with Christians in the country and around the world as they celebrate the Easter season. Easter is an event that commemorates the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead. It also symbolizes Christ's victory over sin and death. Now, to mark the day, President Tinubu in a Friday statement called on Christians to imbibe the virtues of love, sacrifice, and compassion associated with the season. The president hailed the resilience and sacrifices of Nigerians, saying it is necessary for economic recovery. And still with Nigeria, Nigeria's ex-president, and that is Muhammadu Buhari, has extended birthday greetings to President Bola Tinubu, who turns 72 on Friday, March 29, 2024. Buhari commended Tinubu for making sustained efforts to overcome the many problems of the country as he wished him many happy returns of the day. The Deputy Senate President, Senator Jibrin Barau, also congratulated Tinubu, describing him as a visionary leader. Also, the Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, congratulated Tinubu on his birthday, describing him as a courageous, audacious, and passionate leader who is committed to the progress, growth, and development of Nigeria. Last Sunday, Tinubu asked well-meaning friends and family members to keep his birthday low-profiled and low-key. The presidency revealed this in a statement signed by Tinubu's special advisor on information and strategy, Bayo Onanuga. And on to security matters, the embattled Ovie of Iwo Urubo Kingdom, Ugeli South local government area of Delta State, His Royal Majesty Clement Ogenerukewe Ikolo Oukwe I, who surrendered himself to the Delta State Police Command last night, has been handed over to the Nigerian Army authorities. Spokesman of the Delta State Police Command, Bright Edafe, confirmed this to newsmen in Asaba. The OVA, before surrendering to the police headquarters in Asaba Thursday evening, said he was embarrassed and surprised to be included among persons declared wanted by the defense headquarters. Still in Okwama, some residents there in the community in Ugeli South local government area of Delta State who fled their homes in the aftermath of the 14th of March killing of soldiers have appealed to the federal and state government to come to their aid. News Central's correspondent Austin Azu brings us details.
It is 2 weeks now since the killing of 17 soldiers in Okwama community in Ugeli South local government area of Delta State. The aftermath led to the residents fleeing for safety, while the military took over the community. Most of the fleeing residents of the community are not willing to be engaged in a conversation, nor filmed. But one who pleaded anonymity said children, women, and men of Okwama community who fled their homes are still taking refuge in the bush with no shelter, food, water, or healthcare facilities. He narrated that they have lost some persons to sickness and snake bites. He also appealed to the federal and state government and other good-spirited individuals to come to their rescue to avoid more casualties.
Rescue our people from the bush. Because as I'm talking to you now, the whole Okwama community has been graded down by these military men. There is no building remaining in Okwama. Because a few days ago, they carried 2 caterpillars to the Okwama when I'm still crying. But today, now, as I'm talking to you now, the whole community has been graded down. Because when the governor of Delta State went there, they deprived this man access to the community. When a commissioner of police went to the community to go and visit. They deprived this man access to the community. Nobody has went there to see what is going on in this community. Even though in the community people, nobody has been there to witness what is even going on right now. We now appeal to the whole nation to intervene into this matter. They should come to Okwama rescue.
He further called on relevant authorities to prevail on the military to allow them return to their community to enable them pick the pieces of what is left of their lives. In Delta State, for News Central, I'm Austin Azu.
And now to politics in Nigeria. The government there has reiterated its status as a non-aligned nation. Now, this was made known by Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Tungar, while receiving diplomatic correspondence at the ministry's headquarters in Abuja, saying that despite the ongoing conflicts between several world powers, Nigeria will not take any position to support any. He once again condemned the terrorist attack in Russia, adding that Nigeria will continue to maintain good relations with both Russia and Ukraine, despite the ongoing conflict between the two countries, and not supporting Russia's annexation of several parts of Ukraine.
Equal opportunity aligner. We align with the interests of Nigeria, and will continue to do so, which is why we continue to emphasize today on strategic autonomy. Our position on violation of territorial integrity of countries remains the same. It remains consistent. We condemned the violation of Ukraine's territorial space when it occurred, but it does not mean that because of that, we will stop dealing with Russia. We will continue to deal with Russia. Same way we're dealing with Ukraine, same way we're dealing with other countries.
And still with politics in the country, 6 members of the Enugu State House of Assembly under the platform of the Labour Party have defected to the state chapter of the People's Democratic Party. The defected lawmakers include Ejike Eze of Igbo Eze North 1, Johnson Ugu of Enugu North, Princess Ugu of Enugu South Rural, Pius Eze-Ugu of Nsukka West, Amuka Williams of Igbo Etiti East, and Osita Eze of Oji River. Their defections were disclosed during the plenary on Thursday in Enugu in a letter read by the Speaker of the House, Uche Ugu, at the Assembly Legislative Complex. The lawmakers attributed their defections to the existence of irreconcilable division and ongoing crisis within the Labour Party at the national level and across the state chapters. Now joining me on the news here to discuss more is public affairs analyst Shola Omolayo. Shola, very good morning to you. Let's just get started very, very quickly. Now, beyond the stated reasons, are there any political or financial incentives likely motivating these defections that we've seen from the 6 lawmakers?
Yeah, it's expected that the governor in that state will not just sit down and allow the lawmaker in that state to be too strong for him to manage based on the environment we are living in. So whatever thing he think he will do to persuade some of these lawmakers that into Labour Party to think to their side, they will gladly do it. And it's so clear that even the political institution of Labour Party is obviously not settled anymore. They've lost their grip, and they will continue to lose some of their stronghold that they need to have tightened up and for future elections. So it is expected, and I want to believe that more people will come out to do very soon.
And let's look at, you sort of hinted to the power structure within, the state's politics there in terms of lawmakers, the governor. So let's speak a bit, right? How will this, defection impact the balance of power within the Enugu State House of Assembly and when it comes to the lawmakers and the governor?
Well, you should know that in Nigeria today, we are still running this autocratical strength to hold sway, not to benefit the people, so to say, but to find a way of solidifying what I would call self-control into power, in the case that where you find yourself either at the state level or at the local government level, that enforces even the federal level too. So the constitution of this country has not really spelled out how the relationship of governance between the state assembly and their governors should operate. So it gives that militarized act to some of these powers that are in charge of their state. Either you call them a governor or a godfather in that same stuff, playing the game and making sure that the House of Assembly might not be as that strong to defend, like working for the people of the state. So don't be surprised. This is a practice that runs over some of our states in Nigeria. Where you can say you find some relative changes can be in the up north of the political structure, that some of these lawmakers might just choose to stand, even if it's alone, they might choose to stand alone. If they're not under oppression by giving some incentive to move their seat. But I can tell you for free, the state governors are always in charge of the state assembly, which is not too good for the people.
Earlier on, I mean, it's no secret, right, when it comes to the issues that's currently bedeviling Labour Party. And some might say, you know, there wasn't any strong party, so to speak, or they've not been able to capitalize on the obedient movement or the traction that they got during the 2020, the last election that happened. But now with, you know, this, all that's going on with it, and now there's the factions that we've seen, what are the possible or the potential consequences for the upcoming national elections come 2027?
Yeah, it is a pity that Labour Party was so sensationalized as to act like they are going to be a strong party to hold sway in the nearest future. I don't want to let you know that the party is gone already. I think Nigeria should be looking forward to another stronger hold. A Labour Party just came up like a media chat. Sorry to say, truth is bitter. And the nation that involves majorly the young ones never took advantage of the opportunity they had then after the election. Instead of rearranging themselves as a pure politician, they were so carried away by the legal conduct of what they could get out of it. And they were not facing the fact of either win or take. We should move on. And those who anchored the party in the social aspect, they lost their grip completely because they were defeated. And politics is like a game of football. If you don't see it that way, you might get it wrong. Either it is the hand magic of Maradona that scored the goal, or a wrong penalty that was given to one of the opponents by the referee in error. It does not matter. When the goal is gone and the whistle has been blown and the winner has been declared, it will be too dangerous and too expensive for you to rely on such a magnitude of event and just think you will stay by a book of the law to get it back. And if you have not prepared yourself for the bullet that has come upon some of those who believe in the change of government by the political structure of Labour Party, and they got shot got shot in the leg, and they choose not to learn how to go treat the wound and come back for a strong fight. They let go like they let go of a greater future. Too bad. I want to be honest with you. The party has joined the group of others.
Let's see what comes in the future for them. I mean, I want to see how this defection will sort of affect. Are we going to see a ripple effect of this defection in the future? Only time will tell. But Shola, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate you for doing this with us.
God bless Nigeria. Thank you.
Shola Malaya there, public affairs analyst. Now, away from politics, economists are calling for an adequate debt restructuring plan and to prevent insolvents and create alternatives to external loan support programs on debt sustainability. Now, they made this call at the ongoing International Conference on Africa Debt Crisis, which seeks to address the current debt problem in the continent and exploitation of its resources in exchange for bad debts. Now, joining me on the news is Adeshewa Odushoga, News Central's correspondent, who is live in Accra and is going to discuss with us more. Adeshewa, are you on? We cannot make that connection at this time, but we'll try to bring you that report in due course. Adeshewa, are you back now? Now we turn our focus now to power, and that's Nigeria's power, as the nation has now been thrust into darkness yet again, as the national electricity grid, centrally managed from Oshogbo, Osun State, suffered a collapse at approximately 4:30 p.m. on Thursday, leaving millions of homes and businesses without power. This development marks the fourth time the grid is collapsing since the first 3 months of the year, adding to challenges that have long plagued Nigeria's power sector. Now, according to reports from various distribution companies spanning the nation's 36 states, their feeders were rendered inactive, resulting in widespread blackouts across the country. And still on power, the chairman of Eco Electricity Distribution Company, Dare Otube, has issued a disclaimer on a publication made by board member Babo Igerego. In a statement, Otube said that the attention of the board of directors has been drawn to the recent statements online and print media from Babo Igerego, supposedly acting on behalf of the board. Now, this is to state that the board of Eco Electricity Distribution PLC did not and has not authorized Babo to issue any statement or press release on its behalf. They also urged the general public to regard all communications from him as his personal views and does not represent the position of the board of EKEDP. Earlier, Otube had reacted to media reports insinuating that former CEO Tinubu Sanda was still in charge. And still in the power sector, the ECOWAS Commission has expressed worry over the high cost of electricity in the sub-region. The ECOWAS Commissioner for Infrastructure, Energy, Mines and Water Resources, while speaking to newsmen in Abuja, expressed worry over the impact it has on citizens and businesses, saying that the Commission is putting several measures in place to ensure that there is a reduction in tariff. He also adds that ECOWAS agencies saddled with these responsibilities are also applying several measures to support member states to leverage on renewable energy sources.
Presently, our tariff is very, very high. It's approximately 24 cents per kilowatt hour. 24 cents per kilowatt hour. We have some directives to secure cross-border electricity exchange in the framework of the regional electricity market. We have also a regional strategy for the utilization of liquefied petroleum gas LPG. We have also some directive on specification of gasoline and diesel that we want to implement.
And now we go back to Accra, Ghana, where we have our correspondent Adeshewa Odushoga at the International Conference on Africa Debt Crisis, which seeks to address the current debt problem in the continent. Adeshewa, it's good to have you back on. Adeshewa.
Hi, Judith. Good morning.
Hey, good morning to you. So let's get started, right? What was the focus, or rather it's afternoon, I've been told. What's the focus for today right there at the conference?
Okay. Okay, Judith, unfortunately, I mean, will I say fortunately or unfortunately, it's morning here in Ghana, but I would say good morning, good afternoon.
Can you take that, guys? Can you take that back? Take the guys at the PCR. Can you hear that? It's morning in Ghana.
Alternative external debt restructuring template for Africa. As we know, its debt restructuring is designed to, bring the burdens back to the burdens of the debt of African countries or affected countries back to sustainable, sustainable levels, and limit the negative impact of this debt on the African countries that are affected by the debt burdens. And now there are issues around the debt restructuring template of the IMF and other global financial bodies who are said to be the multilateral, creditors of these African countries who are now indebted. But unfortunately, many of the speakers here and other economists have criticized the template for debt restructuring as issued by IMF, saying that there have been bias as it concerns African countries. So they are now discussing other alternative debt restructuring templates for African countries to limit the negative impact of their debt crisis as it concerns the debt servicing structures and how to, redirect the debt profiles of these African countries. So for many of the speakers here, they said it's time to begin to turn the narrative away from relying on international global financial bodies like the IMF and start to think of the alternative debt restructuring processes for these African countries. Now, we understand that many of these countries, most of the factors that are affecting the debt burdens on them is the fact that most of the creditors are increasing their interest rate exponentially, and somehow it has become is increasing their debt burdens, and it's becoming impossible for them to service this debt within the grace period that had been granted to them earlier. So the major focus for today is, where do we turn to now that the international global financial bodies have failed, so to speak, in quote, financial bodies like IMF? So what are the alternative debt restructuring templates that needs to be provided for these African countries to limit the impact of the debt burdens and then to find a way to service their debt and redirect their debt profiles, basically? Judith.
Oh, I can only imagine. I mean, it's the entirety of Africa when it comes to the debt in and of itself. And Nigeria has a burden when it comes to ours as well. Were you able to speak to any of our representatives that were there, say from the government of Nigeria? Were you able to speak to anyone who were there, and what was the general consensus in addressing the nation's debt profile?
All right. There are not official authorities from Nigeria, but of course we had an economist from Nigeria, Ime, who represents, she's a senior researcher at the Center for a non-governmental organization, basically. So what she said was that she came to address the debt crisis happening in Nigeria. As we know, Nigeria is one of the biggest economies on the continent, and Nigeria is currently dealing with a high level of both internal and external debt. Now, its external debt profile is going as high as 50 billion naira. And when we understand that the Nigerian government has tried to, settle its outstanding debts, we still have the debts that have been accrued to private creditors and also some bilateral, creditors, and these are yet to be settled. And unfortunately, this debt is currently increasing in the face of the rising exchange rates that Nigeria is currently being faced, that is dealing with. While we can applaud that the naira is started to gain against the dollar, but it is not still, the impact is not still significant enough to, enough to restructure its debt or its debt profile at the moment. So Nigeria is also in the middle of a debt crisis, but maybe not as bad as other African countries because of Nigeria's commodity prices, the commodity products that we are reliant on is oil, and then for a fact we are still sustainable enough to to service its debt. But this is not to say that the country is not also experiencing a debt crisis. But if you are to compare it to other African countries, especially countries in the Sahel region, countries that are bounded by the common currency of the CFA franc, we understand that to some extent, Nigeria is still able to sustain its debt compared to other African countries. Judith.
Adeshowa, very strong points and salient points there were made, but we look to see what would happen in the coming days as it pertains, restructuring the continent's debts, and hopefully representatives from the countries who were there would, take back home and prefer solutions to this looming issue that we have. But Adeshowa, many thanks to you. I hope to see treats on my table on Monday.
Thank you for having me, Judith. Have a nice day.
You too. We'll move on now to still in Nigeria, but this time on the matters of works, as the Minister of Works has given the China Civil Engineering Construction Company a 7-day ultimatum to complete the repair works on its section of the Port Harcourt-Aba Expressway in order to reduce the hardship being faced by road users. The minister, during an inspection tour of several key road projects in the south, and southeast regions of the country, assured that government will not compromise on quality of roads being repaired and those being constructed afresh. Amadin Uyi reports.
It was an inspection visit of the ongoing rehabilitation works of the Section 4 of the Enugu-Port Harcourt dual carriageway, the Aba-Port Harcourt Highway, and several others being handled by the China Civil Engineering Construction Corporation Limited.
The one they have done, I think 2.5 kilometers, they did the shoulders with asphalt. But going forward, they're going to do the shoulders with concrete, and we've directed that they should also do some cutting and fill with bitumen, to create expansion joint.
The minister commended the construction company for a job well done, but however gave them a 7-day ultimatum to finish the section of the Port Harcourt-Aba Expressway, saying it is causing a lot of hardship for users of the road.
So I'm begging CCC and the controller and engineers to do everything possible in the next 7 days and create a smooth sail, on this right-hand side. I'll be coming back. I've been here for more than 7 times. I'll be coming again for it. I intend to visit, all projects with this frequency. This is what Mr. President directed.
Those in attendance gave an overview of the quality of work seen on ground and the efforts being put in place to ensure that they are duly repaired and completed.
For the 2 days we've been on the road, it's been like never before. And I want to say that I am proud that he is exceeding expectations. And I want to say that I've been vindicated that the president did not make any mistake. His passion, his expertise impacts on the design, impacts on the quality, impacts on the speed, impacts on the durability, and in fact impacts on the style of project implementation.
The most important thing is not only the quality of the roads that we have seen, but the fact that it is being done at the lowest level of amount of money that they could spend. What he's saving, what the Honorable Minister is saving the country, saving from the budget, saving the nation, on the instruction of Mr. President, is unquantifiable. This is democracy in action.
For his constant supervision of all projects in his ministry. This is what we were lacking before. Like he said here, he's not an office minister. He moved from site to site to ensure that the jobs are done according to specification. And that is what we want in this country.
The minister also called for the redesign of the second Niger Bridge bypass in Asaba and Onitsha, saying this will save government about 300 billion naira. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
The news continues in West Africa, where Senegal's anti-establishment leader Bassirou Diomaye Faye was welcomed at the presidential palace by the outgoing leader Macky Sall. The meeting, which came after weeks of crisis surrounding the vote, suggested a swift and peaceful handover in the West African nation that prides itself on democratic stability in a coup-hit region. Faye was only freed from prison 10 days before the election, along with his mentor, Usman Sonko, who was barred from running following a criminal conviction he says was politically motivated. The outgoing president received both men in what his office called a contentious meeting, where they discussed at length the major issues for the state as well as the inauguration ceremony. And still in Senegal, the African Union on Friday congratulated anti-establishment opposition candidate Bassirou Diomaye Faye on his victory in Senegal's presidential election and hailed him the unanimous acceptance of the results. In a statement, African Union Commission President Moussa Faki Mahamat said he warmly congratulates Faye while wishing him full success in his weighty and noble charge. According to provisional results, Faye won the first round of the vote outright with 54.3%, far ahead of incumbent Macky Sall's hand-picked candidate, former Prime Minister Amadou Ba. Senegal's Constitutional Court could declare Faye the official winner before the weekend, which would make a handover possible before April 2nd, the official end of Sall's term. And on to South Africa, where very sad incidents have happened. The president, Cyril Ramaphosa, has expressed his condolences over a bus crash that killed 45 of the 46 people on board. An 8-year-old girl was the sole survivor of yesterday's crash and has been admitted to a hospital. Investigations are continuing into the crash, which occurred when the bus plunged off a bridge into a riverine and caught fire in the north of the country. It was traveling from neighboring Botswana to Morea, where an Easter pilgrimage and service have attracted more than 1 million worshippers in recent years. Ramaphosa conveyed his condolences to the Republic of Botswana and to the family and friends of the 45 bus crashes. U.S. Special Envoy for Sudan, Tom Perrillo, have met representatives of the United States to the United Nations Ambassador Linda Thomas-Greenfield to discuss the situation in Sudan. Perrillo said the situation in Sudan remained catastrophic, adding that the failed ceasefire is worsening the situation. Thomas-Greenfield said people were starving and it was important they are not forgotten.
Important. A few weeks ago, the Council came together to adopt a resolution calling for a Ramadan ceasefire. That resolution has thus far been ignored. Nearly a year since this crisis began, the situation in Sudan remains catastrophic, and it is only getting worse. And so we once again call for the SAF to immediately and fully reopen all of its border crossings with Chad for humanitarian purposes, including the Adre border crossing. Should they not, the Security Council must take swift action to ensure life-saving aid is delivered and distributed, including, if necessary, through a cross-border mechanism.
And as we head into into the rainy season, where conditions could get even worse, now is not the time to pause. Now is not the time to escalate. It is the time for us to bring together those actors who can help pave that path to peace, to humanitarian protection and access.
People are starving, and it is really important that we not forget them. They need as much attention as we're paying to crises.
Kursi's parliament on Thursday rejected a censure motion against the consecutive government of Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis. The Prime Minister is accused of trying to manipulate the investigation of the February 2023 train collision that killed 57 people. Of the 300 deputies in Parliament, 159 voted against the no confidence motion lodged by the Socialist PASOK party.
Και σήμερα να περιγράψω πρωτίστως απευθυνόμενος στους συγγενείς των θυμάτων αλλά και στην κοινωνία όσο καλύτερα μπορούσα το τι έγινε ακριβώς αυτό το δυστύχημα και το τι θα κάνουμε για να μην έχουμε ποτέ ξανά άλλα τέμπη, γιατί αυτό τελικά είναι το αίτημα της κοινωνίας. Να κάνουμε τη δύναμη της θλίψης, αυτής της οδυνηρής εμπειρίας, μια δύναμη αναδημιουργίας. Σας ζητώ.
The Colombian army have arrested 12 members of an armed rebel group and seized their weapons, ammunition, and defensive devices during an offensive in the southwest following the partial suspension of the truce. 3 members of the FARC group, the Estado Mayor Central, were killed in a fight with the armed forces during the operation. The Colombian government decreed on Sunday, March 17th, to suspend the truce agreed upon with the largest faction of the peace pact with the FARC in 3 departments of the country after rebels carried out an attack on an indigenous group that left 1 woman dead and 1 injured.
Esta estructura estaba generando zozobra y temor entre la población mediante las extorsiones, secuestro, reclutamiento forzado de niños, niñas y adolescentes, e instrumentalizando a los presidentes de Junta de Acción Comunal en el sur del Tolima. Se incautan 11 armas largas de tipo fusil, 1 ametralladora, 4 pistolas, proveedores, municiones de diferentes calibres, granadas de mano, radios de comunicaciones y abundante material de intendencia.
All banks in Nigeria have been given a directive to recapitalize within the next 24 months or should present an implementation plan of how it will achieve this to the Central Bank of Nigeria before April 30th. A statement signed by the Director, Financial Policy and Regulations Department of the Apex Bank, Haruna Mustafa, disclosed the minimum capital base for a commercial bank with international authorization will now be 500 billion naira. For commercial banks with national authorization, the capital base will be 200 billion naira, while regional banks are expected to build their capital base to 50 billion naira. CBN also pegged the new capital base for merchant banks at 50 billion naira, while non-interest banks with national authorization should improve to 20 billion naira capital base, and those with regional authorization should have a minimum of 10 billion naira capital base. Nigerian businesses are facing a tough economic climate as inflation figures continue to soar. This has significantly eroded consumer purchasing power, leading to decreased sales and stagnant growth for many countries. In an interview with business experts, Lekon Onabanjo details how micro, small and medium enterprises, or MSMEs, can navigate limitations to scale up operations.
At December 2023, no fewer than 10 million small and medium enterprises out of about 40 million were shut down. These businesses ceased to exist due to economic hardships such as inflation, forex inconsistencies, a sharp drop in consumer purchasing power, and poor electricity.
You could buy something for a particular amount now, and then the next time you're going to get it, the price has changed. And this affects, we're talking about the cost of raw materials, the cost of production. And all of these are now factored into whatever cost we're transferring to the customer. And then even the cost of power. Powering businesses right now, it's a lot of problem. I would say the business environment in Nigeria is faced with a lot of uncertainty, and then price. I don't think it's inflation. I think it's hyperinflation that we're facing, actually.
To combat inflation, the Central Bank of Nigeria hiked interest rates to a staggering 24.75%. While this aims to curb inflation, borrowing money becomes more expensive, potentially hindering investments and expansion plans.
Increasing the interest rate, that's the CBN's way to address inflation, because when inflation goes up, it means that you hold back on spending, because spending is what fuels inflation. But at the same time, it also means that if I want to go get a loan from the bank, the interest rate is a lot higher. For those who have loans already, they will already start, they will start getting mails to say the interest rate has changed.
Another hurdle for businesses, particularly micro, small and medium enterprises, is the process of accessing grants and opportunities designed to help them scale up. Experts suggest that entrepreneurs should start thinking smart to navigate business hurdles.
The thing about running a business as an entrepreneur, you need to find a way that your income, right, is more than your expenses. So look for how to be more efficient such that that margin is wide enough for you to fund your business. It's not sustainable that you keep raising capital, This is not the time to look for debt, especially if your margins cannot accommodate it. You might probably want to look at raising money, raising equity, and I've seen that recently commercial notes are becoming very popular for small businesses. So you have to look at other ways of raising capital that is not expensive.
Economic challenges will always be there, but the onus is now on business owners to start focusing on creating smart initiatives, as this can help them thrive and accelerate growth prospects for the future. In Lagos for News Central, Lekon Onobanjo.
Nottingham Forest manager Nuno Espirito Santos has confirmed Taiwo Owoniyi will miss the club's next 2 games against Crystal Palace and Fulham. Owoniyi missed Forest's 1-1 draw with Luton Town before the international break due to injury. The injury also forced him out of Nigeria's friendly against Ghana and Mali. Santo revealed that the striker is yet to recover from the injury. The 26-year-old has scored 6 goals in 17 league appearances for the Reds this season. Ahead of Azizat Oshoala's home debut for her new club, Bay FC, in the National Women's Soccer League on Sunday, the club's supporters have fully booked the 18,000 capacity PayPal Park in San Jose for what will be a historic game against Houghton Dash. The 6-time CAF Women's Player of the Year, Oshoala, was made the poster girl of the pre-match flyer as the new NWSL side announced the selling out and also issued driving and parking advisories to their fans. Bay FC have played 2 games so far in the league, winning 1, losing 1, and scoring 2 goals in the process. Oshoala scored their first ever NWSL goal in the 1-0 win over Angel City before providing an assist in their 2-1 loss against Washington Spirit last Sunday. And that's all on the news. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. Delta State Commissioner of Police hands over wanted Ewu community monarch to the Nigerian Army. Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu is stalled as he turns 72. We also told you that South Africa's president sends condolences over a fatal bus crash which killed 45 people. Now remember that you can send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number showing on your screen. Make sure to follow us on social media. We're at News Central TV. You can also watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Judith, Atibi.